Welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a really vital 2026 document today. It's called Cybersecurity and Ethical Competence for Small Law Firms.
Yeah, and it is a critical read right now.
It really is. And, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly why small legal practices are, well, suddenly the prime targets for high-tech cybercriminals.
Right, and how securing that digital data is no longer just some IT problem you can outsource. It's a fundamental ethical duty for lawyers.
Exactly. So to start us off, I want you to think of a small law firm, like a boutique vault.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Right, because it holds the exact same gold as a massive fortress-like bank.
Hmm.
We're talking about highly sensitive intellectual property, pristine financial records, deeply personal client information.
Trade secrets that could literally swing global markets, yeah.
Exactly. But unlike that massive bank, the boutique vault doesn't have an army of security guards patrolling the perimeter. It doesn't have a moat.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Naturally, if you are a thief, you're going to target the boutique. I mean, it is the path of least resistance for the exact same payout.
Oh, 100%. And what's fascinating here is how the nature of the threat itself has fundamentally changed the risk calculus for these smaller practices.
How so?
Well, the entire paradigm of a cyber attack has shifted in 2026.
Mm.
It is no longer about manual hackers, sitting in a dark basement, meticulously researching individual targets.
Yeah, typing lines of code to break into one specific server.
Exactly. That era is definitively over. Today, automated AI tools allow cybercriminals to launch thousands of highly tailored attacks simultaneously.
Wow, thousands at once.
Yeah. They are utilizing AI-enhanced phishing campaigns and highly sophisticated business email compromise attacks, or BEC attacks.
BEC, right.
And because the deployment of these attacks is automated and, frankly, incredibly cheap to run at scale, the whole concept of obscurity is dead.
So no firm is too small to be noticed anymore.
No firm. The algorithm simply sweeps the global internet looking for an open digital window.
Right, so the boutique vault doesn't even need to be physically located in a bad neighborhood to get robbed. The thieves are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
And because these AI tools can instantly scrape public websites, LinkedIn profiles, court dockets to build a profile, the phishing emails they generate aren't those old clunky messages anymore.
Oh, no, not the ones
Uh-huh.
with terrible grammar and weird formatting.
Right. They look exactly like an urgent, perfectly punctuated request from your managing partner or, a trusted third-party vendor.
Precisely. They mimic the tone, the urgency, and even the internal jargon of your specific firm. I mean, the threat is ubiquitous. It does not discriminate by firm size, revenue, or location.
Okay, let's unpack this, because
Mhm.
if the threat is everywhere all the time, defense can't just be an optional, nice-to-have upgrade for a law firm.
No, absolutely not.
It becomes a non-negotiable professional mandate. We are looking at the American Bar Association's model rules here, which serve as the gold standard for digital conduct in the U.S.
Right.
And it seems like they recognized this shift a while ago.
They did. And these rules, they are the baseline from which individual state bars operate. There are two specific rules that absolutely dictate how a lawyer must operate in this environment.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, there's Rule 1.1, which dictates the duty of competence.
Right, competence.
Yeah, and historically, competence meant knowing the relevant case law, understanding complex legal strategy, and knowing how to effectively argue a motion.
Standard lawyer stuff.
Exactly. But the ABA has explicitly clarified that legal competence now inherently demands technological competence.
Yeah, really? So it's written in.
It is. You cannot adequately ethically represent a client in 2026 if you do not deeply understand the technology used to store, process, and transmit their sensitive data.
Wow. And then there's Rule 1.6c, which deals directly with confidentiality.
Correct. Rule 1.6c mandates that a lawyer must make reasonable efforts to prevent the inadvertent or unauthorized disclosure of client information.
Or unauthorized access to it, right?
Yeah. And in today's aggressive threat environment, courts and malpractice insurers are heavily scrutinizing those two words, reasonable efforts.
This is the part that I think might catch some practitioners off guard, because it sounds like willful ignorance is totally off the table now.
Oh, completely off the table.
Let me ask you this. If a lawyer today throws their hands up and says, look, I'm just not a computer person, I'm a trial lawyer, is that essentially the ethical equivalent of a modern surgeon saying they didn't know they had to scrub in before operating?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that analogy is spot on.
Yep.
I mean, the cornerstone of the entire legal profession, The fundamental bedrock upon which attorney-client privilege rests is confidentiality.
Right. Without it, you have nothing.
Exactly. If clients cannot trust that their deepest secrets, their financial vulnerabilities, or their trade secrets are safe, the entire adversarial system breaks down.
Yeah, the trust is just gone.
So in 2026, failing to secure your office router or, using an easily guessable password for your firm's administrative email.
It's practically the exact same thing as leaving a cardboard box full of sensitive, unredacted case files sitting on a bench in a public park,
Yes.
just hoping nobody walks by, realizes what it is, and picks it up.
Exactly. And courts and malpractice insurers, they no longer accept good intentions.
They don't care if you're not a computer person.
They do not care that a managing partner meant well or simply didn't understand the software. They are demanding documented, proactive controls.
They want the receipts.
Literally. Auditable receipts showing you took the threat seriously and implemented institutional safeguards long before the breach actually happened.
Which flows logically into the most critical part of this discussion. If courts and the ABA are demanding these reasonable efforts, we have to define what that actually looks like mechanically.
Right. What is the actual standard?
Exactly. The current guidance provides a blueprint of 10 indispensable cybersecurity practices for small firms.
Yes, the 10 steps. But it really helps to think of these 10 practices not as a disjointed checklist of IT chores, but as an interlocking ecosystem of security.
Right, where if one fails, the others are there to catch the fault.
Exactly.
Let's start with the perimeter then. The human element and identity. The first mandate is multi-factor authentication, or MFA.
Mandatory across email, cloud storage, and remote access.
Because passwords alone are completely dead.
They're completely dead. I mean, they are compromised in massive global data breaches constantly, and AI can crack weak ones in seconds.
So MFA acts as a physical barrier.
Yeah. MFA means even if an automated script guesses your password, or an employee accidentally hands it over, the attacker cannot get into the system without the secondary physical approval.
Like a secure push notification to the user's phone.
Exactly. It is the single highest yield security measure a firm can take. It breaks the attacker's momentum instantly.
But MFA stops them at the front door. Relying on humans to remember 50 different highly complex passwords just leads to people writing them on sticky notes under their keyboards.
Oh, absolutely. Or reusing the same password for their bank and their legal software.
Which is a nightmare. That's where firm-wide password managers come in, right? That's another step on the blueprint.
That is the exact mechanism to solve the human friction. Password managers generate and heavily encrypt complex, unguessable strings of characters for every single login.
So the staff only has to remember one extraordinarily strong master passphrase.
Right. It immediately eliminates a massive chunk of human error and makes the mandatory MFA much more survivable and less annoying for the staff.
And speaking of the staff, employee training and testing is another massive pillar of this human perimeter.
Definitely.
Because you can have the strongest locks in the world, but if someone on the inside just opens the door because they were asked nicely, it's game over.
It is the harsh truth of modern cybersecurity. You can have incredibly expensive infrastructure, but if a paralegal, an associate, or even a senior partner clicks a malicious link,
a link that perfectly impersonates an urgent wire transfer request from a client.
Exactly. If they click that, the attackers are instantly inside the gates.
So how do you prevent that?
Regular simulated phishing tests are required because they keep the staff's psychological defenses sharp. It trains their brains to look for the subtle, almost imperceptible red flags of an AI-generated BEC attack.
Wow. Okay, so that is the human perimeter. Now let's look at the actual network perimeter. Patch management is mandated.
Yes. Immediate updates for operating systems and browsers.
I feel like we all reflexively hit remind me tomorrow on those annoying little pop-ups.
We do. And that reflex is a massive vulnerability. We have to look at the mechanics of a patch.
What's actually happening when you update?
When software companies release an update, they are essentially publishing a highly detailed map of a newly discovered vulnerability in their own product.
Oh, wow.
They are telling the world, here is the exact hole in our armor, and here's the patch to fix it.
So the hackers see that map too?
Yes. Hackers run automated scripts that constantly ping firm IP addresses, actively scanning for older software versions.
So if your server reports back that it's running the outdated version, the hacker's AI instantly knows exactly which digital lock to pick.
Exactly. Closing those security gaps has to be instantaneous, or you are simply leaving a known backdoor wide open.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about when the staff leaves the office? Secure Wi-Fi and VPNs are non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
Specifically, banning the use of public Wi-Fi without a firm-approved virtual private network. So reviewing case files at the airport lounge on their open network is a massive ethical breach.
Absolutely. Public Wi-Fi is essentially a digital public square. Anyone with basic, freely available software can eavesdrop on unencrypted traffic flowing across that shared router.
So what does the VPN actually do?
A firm-approved VPN creates a secure, mathematically encrypted tunnel between the lawyer's device and the internet. It effectively shields client data from the prying eyes of anyone else sitting in that coffee shop or airport lounge.
Okay, let's say the attackers bypass the human element and they bypass the network perimeter. They're inside the vault.
Okay, worst case scenario.
Right. How do we spot them and protect the data itself? This brings us to the inner defenses. Endpoint protection is mandated.
Yes, but this isn't that old virus scanner we used to install from a CD-ROM.
No, the standard now requires utilizing AI-driven antivirus and EDR.
Right. EDR stands for Endpoint Detection and Response.
If traditional antivirus is like a bouncer checking IDs against a list of known troublemakers, I'm guessing AI-driven EDR is more like a behavioral psychologist watching the crowd.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize
It
it.
doesn't care who you are. It cares that you just tried to pry open the cash register at 3 in the morning.
Exactly. Traditional antivirus looks for a static list of known bad files. But AI attacks mutate constantly. They don't use known files.
So how does EDR stop them?
EDR uses machine learning to monitor the actual behavior of every device on your network, including mobile phones.
Behavior. Like what?
Well, if an associate's computer suddenly starts trying to rapidly copy and export tens of thousands of client files to an unknown external server in the middle of the night.
Oh, that's obviously bad.
Right. The EDR system flags that abnormal behavioral anomaly. And crucially, it doesn't just alert you, it responds.
It fights back.
It automatically isolates that specific device from the rest of the network, stopping the attack in its tracks before a human being even wakes up to check their phone.
That's incredible. And what about the data they do manage to touch? End-to-end encryption is required both at rest and in transit.
Yeah, this goes right back to the park bench analogy.
Okay.
If someone smashes a car window and steals a lawyer's laptop and the hard drive is encrypted at rest, the thief just stole a useless, incredibly expensive brick of metal and plastic.
Because without the decryption key, the data is just mathematically scrambled into gibberish.
Exactly. Without encryption, they have every unredacted file that lawyers ever worked on.
Then in transit encryption.
That ensures that when you send a highly sensitive settlement document over email or a file-sharing link, it cannot be intercepted and read by a middleman while it travels across the internet.
Makes total sense. But most small firms aren't hosting their own servers anymore. They use cloud platforms.
Yes, the vast majority do.
So vetting third-party vendors is another crucial step in this blueprint. The mandate specifically calls out checking SOC2 compliance for platforms like Clio, MyCase, or NetDocuments.
Right.
How does that practically protect a firm?
Well, when a solo practitioner or a small partnership uses cloud-based practice management software, they are effectively handing over the keys to their entire boutique vault to a third-party corporation.
That's a huge risk.
It is. Under the ethical rules of competence and confidentiality, you cannot just blindly trust their marketing materials. You have to verify their internal architecture.
And that's what SOC2 does.
Yes. SOC2 is a rigorous, independent auditing standard. A SOC2 Type 2 report proves that an outside auditor has come in over a period of months and verified exactly how that vendor physically secures their server farms.
How they manage encryption keys, all that.
Exactly. And exactly which of their internal employees have access to your client files. As a lawyer, collecting that SOC2 report covers your ethical obligation of reasonable efforts when establishing that chain of custody.
Okay, so we have the perimeter and we have the inner defenses. But what happens if the absolute worst-case scenario hits? The fail-safe mechanisms.
Right.
Regular data backups are required, but they must be encrypted, offline, or immutable. Why that specific, highly technical terminology?
This is specifically engineered to combat the existential threat of ransomware.
Because ransomware locks you out of your own files.
Right. It works by infecting your network and mathematically locking all your files until you pay an extortion fee in cryptocurrency.
But can't you just restore from a backup?
Well, modern ransomware is highly intelligent. It will actively seek out your connected backup drives and lock those too, so you cannot simply wipe the computers and restore your system.
Oh, wow. So they trap you completely.
Exactly. An immutable backup utilizes worm technology, write once, read many.
What does that mean in practice?
By its very firmware programming, once the data is written to that storage medium, it literally cannot be altered, encrypted, or deleted by anyone for a set retention period.
Not even the hacker.
Not even a hacker who has gained top-level administrator access to your system can change it. If your firm gets hit, an immutable backup guarantees you have a pristine, untouched copy of your data to start fresh without ever paying the ransom.
That is an incredibly powerful safeguard. And finally, the Incident Response Plan, or IRP, a written break-glass protocol for suspected breaches.
Yes, step 10.
You wouldn't walk into a complex federal courtroom without a meticulously pre-planned litigation strategy. An IRP is essentially your litigation strategy for a catastrophic data breach.
That's exactly what it is.
You need to know exactly which technical motions to file, who is authorized to unplug the servers, and exactly which legal notices must be sent to clients and regulators the very second the opposition strikes.
Precisely. In the chaos of a live breach, adrenaline is high and people panic. An IRP removes the emotion and hesitation.
This gives you a playbook.
Right. It establishes a rigid chain of command and immediate action steps, which drastically reduces the amount of time the attackers have to maneuver inside your systems.
Okay. Let's take a breath here. We've outlined a highly sophisticated ecosystem of security.
We have. It's a lot.
Let me push back here on behalf of the listener. We've just discussed immutable backups, AI behavioral psychologists monitoring endpoints, SOC2 chain of custody audits, and encrypted VPN tunnels.
Yes.
Is it really feasible for a solo practitioner or, a boutique firm with maybe 3 lawyers and 2 paralegals to manage all of this without completely pulling their hair out and abandoning the actual practice of law?
I get it. That is the most common and, frankly, the most understandable fear when reviewing this framework.
It sounds like a full-time job.
It does. But the reality is highly reassuring. You do not have to build the AI-driven EDR or engineer the immutable backups yourself.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. There's an entire industry of managed service providers who cater specifically to the legal sector. They bundle this entire ecosystem into a single, manageable service.
Do you just hire them to handle the tech side?
Yes. But more importantly, if you look at the root cause of the vast majority of law firm breaches, the human element staff clicking a bad link or reusing a weak password is almost always the point of entry.
It always comes back to the human error.
Exactly. Which is why employee training, password managers, and MFA are the absolute most critical first defenses.
So if you don't have a massive corporate budget, just starting with the human perimeter eliminates a huge percentage of the risk.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to our third segment, the business case. The budget, the insurance, and the profound impact on client trust.
This is where it gets real for managing partners.
Because the reality in 2026 is that implementing these steps is no longer just about avoiding a devastating fine or a public reprimand from the Bar Association.
No.
It is a fundamental financial necessity, particularly when we look at the mechanics of cyber insurance.
Oh, the underwriting mechanics have become ruthlessly strict.
How so?
Well, a few years ago, getting a professional liability or cyber insurance policy was essentially a matter of filling out a self-attestation questionnaire. You checked a few boxes claiming you had antivirus, and you were covered.
It was basically the honor system.
Exactly. But today, the insurance carriers have paid out billions in ransomware claims. Billions. And their actuaries are refusing to take on unmitigated risk.
So they want proof.
Before they will even issue a new policy or renew an existing one, underwriters are demanding hard technical proof.
Like what kind of proof?
They want to see the system logs proving you have MFA enabled across the entire board. They want to see the configuration files for your immutable backups. They want a physical copy of your written incident response plan.
Wow. So if you don't have this ecosystem in place, it's not that your premiums go up. You literally become uninsurable.
That is the stark reality. You are deemed too high of a risk to carry.
But on the flip side,
Conversely, proactively implementing these practices often qualifies your firm for significantly discounted premiums because you have mathematically proven you are a defensible target.
now here's where it gets really interesting to me. There is a massive business angle here that flips this whole conversation from a defensive posture to an offensive one.
Oh, I completely agree.
Corporate entities, institutional investors, and high net worth clients now regularly interrogate a firm's security posture before ever signing a retainer.
They absolutely do.
If corporate clients are actively shopping around based on digital security, then this isn't just IT overhead anymore, it's a pitch. You are selling them the fortress, not just the legal advice.
This raises an important question for any managing partner listening right now. Are you treating your firm's digital security as an annoying IT chore? A compliance box to be checked begrudgingly.
Or are you treating it as a vital competitive differentiator in your specific market?
Exactly. Because when you are sitting across the mahogany table from a prospective corporate client and their general counsel asks exactly how you handle data privacy and vendor risk,
Fumbling for an answer loses you, the client, on the spot.
it really does. But if instead you can confidently look them in the eye and say, we align strictly with the ABA model rules, we mandate hardware MFA, our backups are strictly immutable, and every cloud vendor we touch is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant.
You instantly build an immense amount of trust.
Yes. You prove your meticulous competence before you've even touched their legal case.
It's a massive tangible advantage over the legacy firm down the street that's still using standard reused passwords and reviewing sensitive M&A documents on the airport Wi-Fi.
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, and for practitioners licensed in multiple jurisdictions, there is a fantastic strategy for operational efficiency in the source material. Always adopt the highest common denominator.
Yes, this is a great pro tip.
Right. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to track 5 different, slightly nuanced sets of state bar cybersecurity rules.
Right. Find the state with the absolute most stringent, aggressive requirements, align your entire firm's posture to that high standard, and apply it universally.
So you stay ethically compliant everywhere automatically without having to switch protocols based on which state a specific client resides in.
Exactly. It removes the friction of compliance. The highest common denominator approach ensures that a lawyer working a complex case across state lines doesn't accidentally commit an ethical violation simply because they applied a weaker state's data standard to a specific, highly regulated file transfer.
It's just smart business. So what does this all mean? We have covered immense ground today, navigating from the cutting edge of automated AI threat vectors all the way down to the granular mechanical details of state bar compliance and insurance underwriting.
We really have.
The journey we've taken tells a very clear, urgent story. Automated AI tools have completely democratized cybercrime. Hackers no longer need a specific targeted reason to attack your small firm.
Right. Their software simply swept the internet and found a loose digital door handle.
Exactly. This technological shift has transformed cybersecurity from an annoying IT headache into a strict ABA-mandated ethical duty. Your fundamental duty of competence and your duty of confidentiality absolutely depend on your technological resilience.
But the silver lining here is that the path forward is clearly mapped out.
It is.
The 10-step ecosystem, from MFA and EDR to immutable backups, vendor vetting, and constant staff training, it provides a highly accessible, interconnected framework for definitively demonstrating those required reasonable efforts.
And by adopting that ecosystem, you aren't just shielding yourself from devastating malpractice claims or ensuring you can actually get cyber insurance. You are gaining a legitimate, highly marketable business edge.
You're proving to high-value clients that their most sensitive existential information is safe in your hands.
Exactly. So we want to leave you with one immediate, high-impact call to action. Take one step this week, just one. Conduct a quick audit of your firm's email accounts. And if multi-factor authentication isn't turned on and enforced for every single user, make it your absolute #1 priority. Do it today. Your clients, your malpractice carrier, and your own peace of mind will thank you.
And as you work to secure that boutique vault, I want to leave you with one final forward-looking thought to consider.
Let's hear it.
We've talked extensively today about AI generating hyper-personalized phishing emails that can fool even the most cautious, well-trained staff. That is the reality of the 2026 landscape.
Right.
But the technology is aggressively accelerating. If AI progresses to the point of perfectly cloning a client's voice on a live phone call, or generating a flawless, real-time deepfake video of them on a Zoom screen, requesting an urgent, massive wire transfer to an offshore account,
Oh, wow.
will traditional staff training and procedural safeguards become entirely obsolete? The ultimate challenge for your firm might soon evolve from pure technical defense into complex psychological defense. How will you ethically and legally verify the actual human identity of your clients when you can no longer trust your own eyes and ears?
A chilling thought for the boutique vault. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your doors locked and your MFA on.